So it appears now that the Charlie Kirk situation is spiraling in a direction to where it directly affects your employment. That's the subject of today's video. These are the headlines. Workers are getting fired, placed on leave over Charlie Kirk posts. And basically, if you have an employer who monitors your social media posts, or someone posts something about you, or someone reports your post to an employer, you're out of a job. Now, we have certainly seen this environment before in the past, so this isn't necessarily anything new, but I'll just say this, under the, Trump is president and he has many people in, various government agencies, they're really going to try to make a push to limit basically people's speech, be it in, TV, radio, be it on social media, etc. And this actually matters quite a lot because you have to remember recently Trump had all the tech people come to his dinner and they're talking about AI and stuff. And essentially people are bowing down to Trump regarding this social media posts and free speech. Now, what's ironic about this situation, again, people are losing their jobs over what they post about Charlie Kirk. What's ironic about this situation is that they're trying to paint Charlie Kirk as being some sort of saint, martyr, and talking about him in ways that things that aren't really true. And it becomes tough because it's like, how do we talk about the truth when you're being threatened by the Trump people with the threat of your job? And so what I try to do on this channel, guys, I'm always very careful of what I say because I think it matters. I think it matters that we tell the truth and don't spread, conspiracy theories, don't spread AI images, which a lot of channels do these days. And even if I agree with someone's political point of view, I don't agree with methods of like putting out fake AI images out there, which people do. And it's frustrating because sometimes people say, "Oh, Chris, you're just so dumb. We have to fight fire with fire because if one side does it, we have to do it too." And then you get this world of like everything's fake, right? Which is sort of where we're heading towards. This is a tough time, and that's why I want to talk with you guys about this in an honest way. People are losing jobs due to social media posts about Charlie Kirk. Then you have Charlie's wife recently gave I guess you call it a speech. It's like 15 minutes. You can watch it if you like. And it reminds me of who these people are. Like I just literally watched the thing. And we're also in a challenging time as well to where do we want to platform said people? I know these days, and I've really been thinking about this a lot, to where if you want to make a whole channel just showing all the awful stuff that Charlie says, or awful stuff that Trump says, or awful stuff that whoever says, you can totally do that. But then it becomes you're platforming them too much, right? And the Charlie stuff in particular, which I'll get into as wife said in a moment here, but the Charlie stuff in particular, I've played a few things that he said on my channel every now and then people literally be like, whoa, don't be playing that stuff. And I completely understand where you're coming from. So I'm always very, very careful about these things because think of it this way. You got to be careful how you say these things. Like how do we have a real discussion about something if, say, someone's running around in a hood, you guys know who I'm talking about, and they say lots of stuff and it's like completely off base, completely full of lies, and address that to be like, hey, this is lies. Do you show what the lies are and then address it? But then you're spreading the lies. So therein lies the challenge, because there's a population out there of young people that are definitely moving towards the Charlie Kirk world, and they're going to try to push that even more. His wife says, no idea what you have unleashed, right? And essentially, I don't know if she's going to take over the Turning Point. I heard maybe Ben Shapiro is going to do it. If you don't know, it's essentially just a way for them to raise money, organize social media, push people more to the right. And it's a frustrating time. and I want to show you more of what she said. She said recently, the evildoers for my husband's assassination have no idea what they have done. So already trying to claim, I guess, people who disagree with Charlie as being evil. That's literally from their words. And I told you guys this before when I watched a little bit of her thing, and I'm not going to play it. If you want to watch it, you can. But for me, it came across pretty culty. I'll just be perfectly frank. And the more that I look into the Charlie Kirk situation, it's way worse than I thought. And I'm being honest with you, because I've always known who he is, and I've looked him up before, but I don't spend all day watching his stuff because I know this stuff is frankly nonsense. So I don't need to watch, nonsense all day. And many people who watch my channel, you'll say, you saw it too. You see like 1 or 2 minutes of Charlie and you're like, okay, I don't need to watch anymore. You guys get it. The issue though is that there are young people that frankly don't get it, right? They don't know what to believe these days. And so, and I understand that. If you're a young person, I don't know, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, early 20s, you're not quite sure what to believe anymore because there's so much stuff out there on social media. And, whatever AI generated post or bot filled stuff can be very persuasive if you read it on Reddit or Twitters or whatever. And already I saw people posting that that was the name, Tyler Robinson guy, the person who killed Kirk, was like a Reddit person, like consuming all that kind of stuff. So do be careful out there. There's a movie that I saw recently, and you guys might have seen also, called The Order. This was actually based on a true story. I'll just say this, you don't have to watch it. I'll just give you the general gist of it. But a lot of people who are vulnerable out there, when the economy goes bad, they can get more sort of attracted to culty kind of fringe groups, right? And the story is about that, essentially, like a right-wing Christian nationalist kind of group, and then the FBI, I would just say, an investigation on them. And I don't want to give the whole story away, but it's a very well done movie. The problem is when I mentioned the Charlie Kirk stuff, and this is sort of why I'm just showing you guys everything that I look at, because I want to be very, very careful these days on outlets that you watch that, just basically don't tell you the truth, and let's stick to the truth is important. Is this Charlie Kirk guy really has a lot of Christian nationalist type of views. So like I said, I've always known before that he's not a good guy. I want to make that clear. And the problem is though, is the way, I guess, Trump is forcing medias out there these days to like pretend that Charlie was a good guy, that they're trying to pretend that he was about free speech. It's not really the case. Why do I say that? Because he was an entertainer first and foremost, and it was just about people fighting. How can I own the libs, right? And I've told you guys before is the way that he would structure these things up. It's just shouting matches. No one's listening to each other. That's what he promoted. I would say this. He was promoting shouting matches and bad faith arguments. And so if you think that's a good thing, I'll let you guys be the judge. But anyone who watches this guy, you can see it. And then what they'll do as well, big part of his strategy was misdirection. You ask him a question and he'll start talking a bunch of other stuff and facts that are like, what is this guy talking about? And then you feel confused, and then they'll just move on and you'll forget about it, right? It's not a real conversation in good faith. It was just about the fight, the spectacle, the entertainment. Let me just read a little bit on Wikipedia. And I'm showing you Wikipedia because I noticed his page has been heavily expanded. Before, all I knew really about Charlie Kirk was I knew he was very conservative. I know he promoted certain kind of things. I knew he was a college dropout. Just facts. He's a college dropout. So this is what it says. I'll just read a little bit. It says, Charlie Kirk, he co-founded the conservative student organization Turning Point, so he would target young people, right? He was the chief executive of Turning Point Action and the member of the Council for National Policy. In his later years, he was one of the most prominent voices of the populist MAGA movement and exemplified the growth of Christian nationalism in the Republican Party, right? And then we know he's from Chicago. You also have this. I just want to literally show you what it is. A key ally to Donald Trump. He also put out a professor watch list. That was Charlie Kirk. So he was attacking professors on this list of, these are all dangerous professors, that kind of stuff. And people have done these things before. And you guys know I was a professor. Like, I have a real problem when people start putting out these dangerous watch list professors, because like it's kind of anti-education kind of outlook here. This is more Charlie Kirk, just telling you who he was. He espoused a variety of controversial views, especially regarding his support of gun rights, his opposition to abortion, LGBTQ rights, right? So he's against people there. His criticism of the civil rights of 1964, you can kind of see where it's going, right? Like, that's why I'm just pointing out there for you guys, like who this guy was. Again, criticism of Martin Luther King. Again, that's who Charlie is. And that appeals to a certain kind of audience. If you criticize Martin Luther King, that appeals to, and you know which audience we're talking about. His promotion of Christian nationalism, COVID-19 misinformation, the Great Replacement, conspiracy theory, and false claims of election fraud in 2020, right? And so this idea that they're trying to paint him as this being like this hero is frankly ridiculous. You literally can look this stuff up. That's why I'm showing it to you guys. And this goes a whole thing about Christian nationalism, basically fringe groups. And I think it was recently Hegseth was promoting these kind of groups also, and the stuff they say about women, minorities, etc. Right? It's way to the right, and I don't think it's a good thing if young people are going in this direction. That's why I showed you guys this movie, The Order, and if you kind of know, again, it's about how do these culty type of groups attract young, vulnerable people. When I mean by young and vulnerable, people that feel like they don't have any friends, people that don't feel like they have any job opportunities, people that are down on their luck, and you're more likely to get more radicalized. It is a real problem. It is a real problem. And then you put that together and in the USA to where you just have mass shootings at any moment. That's the environment that we're in. I was looking at this. This is an interesting one. This is the Rockefeller Institute of Government. I think this is one of the SUNYs they do research on who does the shootings. All this stuff is public. You can easily find it. And, there's going to be a lot of talk about, they're going to be talking about where do we go forward from now? And it's always the same. If you like, the NRA, that means you need to buy more guns. No matter what happens, the NRA's answer is just need to buy more guns. And then the other group's answer, which I completely understand, is, okay, we don't need to buy more guns. Let's get less guns. And so we always have debates on that. Someone actually brought up a really good point in the comments, which I completely agree with. One thing you could totally do is just make ammunition really expensive or regulate ammunition. Then you're not necessarily messing with the guns. Because for some people out there that maybe they like to collect guns, which I know, actually, honestly, I have no problem with. If you're a collector and for whatever reason you like to do that, because there's some things people like to collect, and maybe you got old rifles from World War II or Civil War or whatever. You like to collect these things. There's some people that are into that. No problem. Or people out there who, this is also real, just be honest with you about the gun stuff, because I grew up in Oregon and people would have them, if you have a farm and you need it for various reasons, sure. Or people who like to do target practice, because sometimes people don't understand that there's people out there who are completely doing guns in a safe way. They take care of it, correctly, etc. And never thought about hurting anyone or whatever. They like to shoot for sport, and it is a sport. That's why I said I grew up in Oregon. I've went out shooting myself as well. If you grow up in certain parts of the country, that's part of, everyone can do that. The issue becomes, and I have to bring up the gun stuff because oftentimes people have these discussions in bad faith, right? What is a bad faith discussion? A bad faith discussion is, and literally I see it every day on the comments. Someone will say, "Chris, you're just so stupid. This isn't this isn't really about guns." And I say, "Well, why not?" And they'll say, "Oh, because if you really want to hurt someone, you can do that any sort of way. Like look at knives." And then if that were true, then right. And I always have to bring this one up. Do you honestly believe if there if there were no guns, so just for example, that someone could throw a knife at 200 yards or 100 yards and do the kind of damage that they do? And the answer is, of course not. You can't do the kind of mass shooting thing with knives. It's not possible. It's just a bad faith argument. And I just bring up the gun stuff. You got to bring it up because it's all over the USA. So what I'm trying to tell you is that we have a limiting of speech on social media with the Trump people. You have more young people are being more radicalized. You have the availability of guns. Then it's all over the country, these mass shootings, and it's going up. You can see it in the numbers in the charts, and this stuff is all available publicly. I'm just showing you different things, and y'all know these numbers. Some people maybe don't, because again, there's a lot of young people out there that haven't maybe thought about this stuff, and they get more radicalized because what happens is that if you listen to the Charlie Kirk people, they're not about the truth at all. They're not about real conversation on this stuff. It's just about the fight and they own the libs and these kind of things. I'm just telling you guys, look at how different the USA is in gun violence compared to other countries. And you can find any number of these charts. They all tell you the same thing. You can pick any year. It all tells you the same thing. And unfortunately, things are going in a negative direction because now people are under more stress because their healthcare costs are going to go up. And I'm just showing you this is because why does this matter? Because remember we talked about in the beginning of where people get radicalized when they're under economic stress. They feel like they don't have opportunity, right? And so this is why education, healthcare matters. You provide these things for people, education, so you can navigate the world, learn to think critically, learn history, because the Trump people are going to try to change history on who Charlie Kirk was, these kind of things. And that's the environment that we're in. If you're easily fooled because you're frankly not educated, you can get more radicalized. Or if there's not much opportunity out there and costs keep going up, as with Trump policies, that his economic policies aren't going to be good for regular people. It's going to be good for the top 1%, sure, but for the other 99%, it's not going to be good. And that comes back to why we have to talk about the truth of this stuff, because then the Fox News and the Trumpers, even though the economic policy that they put out there is not good for most people, they basically just make stuff up all the time and tell you how everything's cheap. And so this is sort of why I try to do lots of different things on the channel. One is point out where, hey guys, do you believe Donald Trump when he says your gas is $2? And you know for yourself the truth of the world, right? And so that's why I always, tell you these kind of things to believe your own eyes in that regard. You know your bank account, you know your job situation, you know the truth and stuff. And so when someone has a history of, like, say, Donald Trump, that tells you things that aren't true, it should be pretty obvious very quickly that he's uncredible. And this goes for anyone out there that you watch and hang out with. You'll know who's credible and who's not credible. And so just be careful out there. So my concern at the moment, though, right now, is we're in an environment where the uncredible world of Donald Trump, the post-truth world, they're trying to expand it. And again, they're threatening people's employment over it. So that's what's going on. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, and I'll catch you on the next video.